Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm going to be giving you some tips on how I grew my glutes. I was at a standstill to begin with and didn't really know what I was doing, and then when I incorporated these specific tips I saw massive glute growth. So if you want to hear some tips and tricks, then stay tuned for the rest of the video. Then is resistance bands. Now this is a massive one, and I know they say save the best till last, but I feel like this is probably the best tip that I have. Many people probably do say this one. I just feel like resistance bands are a game changer. They really help in terms of like isolation. They help get those glutes activated and involved in the exercise that you're performing. So I don't care if it means getting some hand-me-down resistance bands. I don't care if they're secondhand. I don't care if they're used. I don't care if you found them on the floor. I don't care if they were free. I don't care if they're the most expensive resistance bands that you can find on the internet. I don't care as long as you go and get yourself some resistance bands right now. Actually, no, wait. Finish this video first and then go get some. The reason why I say this is because for many months before I got any resistance bands, I was training glutes and they never really grew very much. If you have a picture from when I wasn't using resistance bands, my glutes were never really small. So in this picture they do look reasonably big, but I was posing as well, so bear that in mind. And then this is my glutes now. So as you can see, the resistance bands have been like literally a godsend. They really help, like I say, isolate the glutes. They help get them involved, and this is obviously a key thing because of my tip number 2, which is activation exercises. So activation, girl, it is a must. You cannot, or you should not, do a glute workout without doing activation. At the end of the day, if you don't do activation exercises, your glutes will not get involved. Unless you have some superior genetics, it's kind of an evolutionary thing that our glutes are the most inactive muscle group in our body, because most of us obviously live very sedentary lifestyles. So using the glutes is a very specific thing, and there's not many movements that do involve the glutes. For years, I have never felt my glutes active when I was like walking, when I was running, when I was going up steps, anything like that. I have never ever felt my glutes get involved until I started training them and using activation exercises. This is what really got my glutes working and got them firing. And now, or say, I mean, they kind of got a bit lazy again now since lockdown, but usually whenever I do like walking up steps or anything like that, maybe on the stepping machine or if I'm going upstairs to the flat, my glutes tend to be the main driving force of that movement. A lot of you might not understand this because I know many people do not have active glutes, and it does take quite a while to get to that stage, I will say. But once you're there, it doesn't take as much activation as what it does to begin with. So like I used to do extensive isolation movements for my activation exercises. My activation exercise would literally last maybe about 20 minutes. Just so I could really feel my glutes getting involved. Whereas now, I can do a 5-minute activation and my glutes are firing straight away. I don't need to do any more than that. So it just kind of goes to show that the more that you do use this muscle group, the easier it gets to get them to get involved. So my third tip then is to eat more protein. I do swear by this in quite a lot of my videos. You need to find sources of protein in every single meal that you possibly can. Protein is key, and if there's not enough protein in your body, protein synthesis will not be triggered. Protein synthesis is a process which basically forms muscle. So what you need in your body is protein for this to happen. Can you see how wonky this nail is? So I whacked this nail off the other day. I'm so scared to touch it. Can you see that? My actual natural nail is like falling off. So painful, literally screamed. But anyway, moving on. Protein is key. If you are not consuming enough protein, muscle growth just will not happen, I'm afraid. I think the recommended amount is like 1 gram per pound of body weight. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it's 1 gram per pound of body weight. So I'm like 140 pounds maybe, something along those lines. So I would have to consume roughly 140 grams of protein a day. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, you should just be in an adequate amount. Like, I'd say anything over 100 grams is good. I'd say if you're not really hitting 100 grams of protein a day, then that's probably where you're going to start to struggle in terms of gaining muscle. And no matter how much you might lift or how much you might train your glutes every week, if you aren't consuming enough protein, the process of protein synthesis will not occur, and then you will not grow muscle. So just make sure that you're trying to get in as much protein as possible, whether it's in the form of protein bars. I literally had one yesterday. Still got the wrapper on my bedroom floor. So this is the Grenade protein bar. I got it in the chocolate fudge brownie. And these alone have, I think they've got like 23 grams of protein in them. So they're 215 calories, which is quite a high amount, but not that much considering it's like a chocolate brownie. It's not too bad. I don't mind because it's like a little treat. Yeah, so 23.3 grams of protein in that little Grenade bar there. They have all kinds of different flavours and they're so nice. I'm not too keen on normal protein bars. I feel like a lot of protein stuff tastes like shit, to be completely honest. They're the one thing that I've found that is actually like quite nice. I had a protein cookie once from My Protein, and it was like one of them filled cookies, and it was the grossest thing I've ever eaten in my whole life. It was absolutely disgusting, and it was like 400 calories as well. Like, I would have rather had a normal cookie and then a protein shake for 100 calories. No, never again. So protein is key. Whatever source you can find of protein, there's eggs, chicken, chickpeas, protein bars, fish, any fish of any sort, turkey, I don't know. I'm not too sure about like vegetarian options. I am not vegetarian personally. Chickpeas is one, it's a really good one. I made an amazing chickpea soup yesterday. If you want to see the recipe for that, then let me know. There's loads of recipes on YouTube as well for like protein cookies and things like that that are really low in calories, really high in protein. Moving on. So tip number 4, not be in an extreme calorie deficit. I know this is what a lot of people are doing, but if you are looking to grow muscle, that is not the way to do it, I'm afraid. Do not be mistaken by what I'm saying here. You can still grow muscle in a calorie deficit. You will not grow muscle if you are in too extreme of a calorie deficit. Oh my God, look at all that hair. Look at all these chickens.
Look at all those chickens.
It is obviously more difficult to build muscle in a calorie deficit. No matter what way you put it, it is more difficult because your body has less of an energy source to work with. And obviously if your body is lacking in terms of an energy source, then it's not going to waste its time or its energy converting that into muscle, and you need to be giving the muscle a reason to stay there. Just make sure that you're not completely starving yourself. Make sure that your body isn't trying to hold on to all the energy possible, because if it is in that state and it is trying to grip onto all the energy it possibly can because you're not fueling it enough, then the likelihood of it sitting there and wasting its time converting all this energy into muscle is very, very low. So my last tip then is to utilize the process of progressive overload. For those of you who don't know what progressive overload is, it's a term used for weight training. So when you're using weights, you'll start off at a certain amount, lift that certain amount, and as the weeks go by, you'll gradually increase the weight each time. You will start to notice that your muscles can handle a much higher weight for the same amount of reps. And this is basically what progressive overload is. So you're gradually increasing the weight and increasing the stimulus that your body has to face in order for it to break down the muscle fibers, rebuild them, and then be able to lift that same weight much easier. And this is obviously how muscles grow. You keep reintroducing a new stimulus and it will basically change itself and adapt in order to compensate for this new trigger, I suppose. So yeah, progressive overload is your best friend. If you want to get a big ass, girl, you need to be every week challenging yourself, getting in the gym and trying to lift a new heavy weight. Test the boundaries, see what your 1 rep max is. But I will just say that you need to be really, really careful when you're doing this sort of thing. Obviously, many injuries happen in the gym. We are all aware of that. And I think you're probably smart enough to know what you're doing, but I do just want to say to be careful. I don't want to come getting some complaints about the fact that you've got a broken toe because I told you to do progressive overload. Just make sure that you are incorporating different types of exercises, but keep it consistent. So you're gonna have an isolation day, you're gonna have a compound day, and you're gonna keep these exercises the same for a couple of weeks, if not more than a couple of weeks. Consistency is key. Like if you have a routine set out, continue with that routine for a few weeks' time and allow your muscles to adapt and grow to this. Then once it's got used to that routine, you can change it up and then your body will adapt again. I do actually have a video, I think, on some of the best exercises or the best variations of the glute bridge. If you are interested in watching that, I will link that above for you. So that is just a few of my tips anyway on how to grow your glutes, how I grew my glutes, what worked for me personally. Don't forget, everyone is different, and if these things don't work for you, which is highly unlikely that all of these things won't work for you, but if they don't, then just keep testing the waters, keep trying different things. Eventually you will get there. I feel like most people will experience growth if they use these tips properly. And if you did enjoy this video, if you found it useful, please do leave me a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I just noticed that. I will leave my Instagram and my Twitter on the screen for you and a link in the description box below. If you have any questions or anything, then you can by all means message me on those and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, if you'd like to see more content from me, then don't hesitate to click one of the videos on the screen and I will see you in the next video. Bye!